Bet on Bears fans, another edition of the Chicago Bears podcast coming your way. Pat the designer, Jason McKie in the building. J-Mac, a very different podcast than the last time we were on. Last time we were here, Matt Eberflus was the head coach of the Chicago Bears. The last time we were here, we were trying to figure out what the heck was going to happen in Detroit to possibly not make Matt Eberflus the head coach of the Chicago Bears. That was just me. That wasn't J-Mac. That was just me.
You did call it. You said, could this be coach's last game? Didn't you say that if it got ugly?
Yeah.
It didn't get ugly. It got ugly at the end. They played. They played like they should have won the game, but hey, you know.
Well, remember, I asked the scenario. What's more than likely to get them fired? If they get blown out or if it's a one-score game and they lose the game, another one-score game loss, and here we are. Thomas Brown is now the interim head coach. Eric Washington will be taking over the defensive play calls. We got to talk about some changes that we may see there, how difficult it may be for them coming into this week because off of a mini-bye, seeing one too many DNPs on this injury report. We got to break that down as well. And could the Chicago Bears be in the market to trade for a head coach? We'll talk about all that and more on today's episode of the Chicago Bears podcast. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. J-Mac, what's new, my guy? How you feeling?
All good, man. Just sitting back watching this soap opera as the Bears turn. You know what I mean? Trying to figure out
as the Bears turn.
As the Bears turn, bro. It's wow. You know, the funny thing is, I think being at that game last week, being on the sideline, and obviously we know what happened at the end of the game. I'm telling you, bro, I almost ran on the field and called timeout. Like it was like I forgot I wasn't coaching. I almost ran on the field. It was like timeout after Caleb got sacked. But it's crazy. It was, I talked about what happened after the game when I was on with, our teammates, Carm and Yurko on their show. It was real tense in the locker room. I knew something was, something had gone on. I wasn't in there during the Jalen Johnson and Coach Flus episode, but I was in there right after. So I got a chance to observe Ryan Poles and Kevin Warren, them in the locker room talking to players as they were on their way out, players coming up to Kevin Warren, expressing, their emotions and their feelings to Kevin Warren as they were leaving. I could see, it was written all over Ryan Poles' face. There was frustration. His face was red. And I knew something. I was like, man, this ain't good. Then it took a long time to be able to interview Caleb because they interviewed Coach Flus first, and then we used, our equipment to interview Caleb, and they were in there meeting with Coach Flus for like 40 to 45 minutes. So I knew something was going on when they came out of that meeting.
You telling me they didn't swing that door open? You wasn't on the other side, glass to the ear, just
open the door, and I'm still like this. I'm like this. Oh, my bad, guys.
Hey, how's it going there?
Hey, if they would open the door, I would have said, Pat, time out.
Time out.
Damn it.
Listen, it was the wildest scenario of why Flus is not here. We did hear you on with Carmen Yurkin. I mean, listen, I don't know what finally changed, right? Because we've heard reports from David Kaplan that Ryan Poles has wanted to move on, not only just last season, but also since the Patriots game. Me and you were confused after that Patriots game because we said the team quit on him. It looked like they were done with Matt Eberflus. We see him for 3 more weeks. They move on from Shane Waldron. Now we're here, and it's just J-Mac, dare I say, and I know it's got to come with wins, but it just feels like a breath of fresh air that at a minimum, that there may be some common sense in the building. How those 3 games were lost. And I'm talking the 3 divisional games is one of the most confusing things in the world. I'm sure you've done it, but going back and watching the tape, J-Mac, my mind is blown at how this team lost that game in the second half. And you really just see when Keenan Allen says the players did enough to win this game. That was true.
I'm not gonna. Well, I'm not gonna agree.
You don't agree with that?
No, because here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. Let's just go to the Detroit game. Well, let's go back to let's go all the way back to.
You can run all 3 of them.
I know he's talking about the Detroit game. So let's talk about
specifically about Detroit. Yeah,
players did enough. What happened in the first half? 2 first downs, right? You did enough at the end of the game to win the game. Yes, you did enough. You guys executed in the second half to come back and win that game. But we can't sit here and say like the entire blame is on, the Bears, the coaching staff. You know what I mean?
100%.
You had some help. Detroit stopped running the ball. You know what I mean? You started finally executing in the second half. I get it. We cannot place the entire blame on the coaching staff. Players got to take some onus in this as well. You win as an organization, you lose as an organization, right? We've been losing as an organization, right? So I get it. Frustration at that point. Yes, at the end of the game, you did what you were supposed to do to win the game, but hey, you almost lost the game. We're backed up. You throw the ball at the official, you get a personal foul. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. It's a lot of things like that.
Talking about Keenan,
that you had to overcome. Now, Keenan had a hell of a game.
Is there any inside reporting on that he was mad that helmet got pulled off in the world?
100%. I'm standing right.
The world saw the dome. You know what I mean? I think we all were a little bit shocked when we saw what was going on up top, J-Mac. Listen, I love Keenan.
Open the sunroof.
Don't be mad at me.
He had the sunroof open.
Bro, that pulled up to the scene with his ceiling missing. You know what I mean? Listen.
Missing completely. Saw it off.
What threw me off was normally the sides are a little shaved out. He's always got the ball fade on the sides. He was letting it grow on Sunday. It threw me off a little.
Yeah, that old school Chicago Bozo the Clown. Let me get the Bozo the Clown.
Thought he was moving on up with Justin Jefferson is what I'm saying.
He went to the barbershop and said,
Justin.
He said, "Don't give me the number 3. Yeah, give me the Bozo, the number 4, the Bozo look."
Nuts, bro. It was absolutely nuts what we saw there. I understood why he threw that football. I was like, hey, I'd have been heated too, dog. Ain't no way you just did this to me.
That's his fault. That's his fault, man. Hey, look. I know you got on the helmet, you wear the do-rag to make it look like you got hair. You know what I'm saying? But you got, man, get you. They got all kind of things now. They got all kind of get you some Andy's balding clippers. Get you shaved off. Like, come on.
No, I'm sorry, bro. He make too much money. You don't go get the LeBron, bro. You got your off season too long for you to not be browning it up, bro.
That haircut sums up the whole Bears season.
Good around the sides, a little rough up top.
Good around the sides, but the top part, the most important part of the hair, the most important part of the game, bare, shaved, empty.
A little bare,
catastrophe. Hey, but
Keenan Allen didn't deserve that. We just went in on him for no reason. He did not deserve that.
But he had a good game. But like, this is the thing, right? You cannot. You win as an organization, you lose as an organization, right? Yes. And I know there's frustration with the coaching staff, and it should be. It should be when the coach has made obviously a lot of mistakes, and then you come up to the podium and there's no accountability. Yes, it's frustrating. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, as players, did we do everything right? You can go all the way back. Go all the way back to the Commanders game. Did we do everything right? Yes, coach should have called a timeout, right? But Tyreek Stevenson, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, even going back to the Packers game, right? Yeah. The blocked field goal. Like, guys, we got to be firmer on field goal protection. It's, you know what I'm saying? So it's, yes. And was there coaching error in those losses? Yes, 100%. That's why the head coach isn't there. But at the same time, we've lost these games collectively. So I can't sit here and say, as players, we did enough to win that game. That's saying, as players, we did everything right. No, you didn't. Yeah. No, you did not. We all got to be better. We got to get rid of this losing mentality. You know what I'm saying? If you don't get rid of that losing mentality, and we're walking around as players with our chest out, we didn't lose the game. The coach lost the game. We're going to keep losing because we didn't do everything right to win the game. You know what I'm saying? Offense was non-existent in the first half. Yep. You only got 2 first downs. Defensively, we can't stop the run. You know what I mean? Like, critical situations, they'll convert. You know what I mean? We had some help in that game too. Why did Ben Johnson stop running the ball? We can go on and on and on. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's so I get it. The head coach, you're the face of the team. You're going to take the brunt of it, and as he should. But at the same time, as players and as a leader in that locker room, what can we do to get better as players? How can we play better? So that way, we're not in these critical situations. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of how I look at it. I don't take the approach of everybody saying, "Oh, the players did everything right. Yeah. Coach Bruce is wrong." No, it's us as a team. It's us as one unit, one heartbeat, going out there playing. We win as a team and we lose as a team.
Yeah, listen, I can't say that they did everything 100% right, but can I say you did enough at the end of the game to where you should have been
in overtime at least. You had a chance.
At a minimum, you should be having a chance to go out there and get the victory. I do think that we can say that. And listen, it to me, what drives the point home, J-Mac, is the fact that this coming week, Thomas Brown can do something in his first game ever that Matt Eberflus has never done in his career as an NFL head coach. Thomas Brown has the opportunity to win a game on Sunday on the road in his first ever game as an NFL head coach. Matt Eberflus has never done that. When you hear stats like that, when you hear it's insane, J-Mac. When you hear the fact that in one-score games out of 221 coaches that have coached in over 20-plus one-score games, Matt Eberflus ranks 221. Like, those are stats that tell you that the guy in the building is making decisions that are holding you back. And that just moving on from that, listen, I don't think that Thomas Brown is going to come out here and just all of a sudden, I'm not on the Heath Tomlin 2.0 train. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people out here, and I'm like, listen, just because his eyes are a little bit larger, he's got a beard and he's black, does not make him Mike Tomlin. I don't know why we keep going with this. Mother like, no, it's because of his mannerisms and he's dropping bars. I was like, listen,
they don't even sound the same.
In the neighborhood that can drop bars like Tomlin. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, he's got some lyrics, but they don't even sound the same. Like, come on, man. Like,
it's weird. It's a weird take. It's not going to be easy for him, J-Mac. I mean, when you look at the injury report today, his first game versus San Francisco, I'm a little bit concerned about who he's going to have out there. Keenan Allen today, ankle, DNP. Ryan Bates, concussion, DNP. Elijah Hicks, ankle, DNP. Roshan Johnson, concussion, DNP. DJ Moore, quad, DNP. DeAndre Swift, quad, DNP. Kevin Byard, shoulder, limited. Coleman Shelton, knee, limited. Darnell Wright, knee, limited. This is coming off of your mini bye, and you've got 3 of your 5 offensive linemen in a limited or not playing. You've got 2 of your top wide receivers not practicing today. You've got both of your running backs not practicing. Like, there's some concern for me on where this Bears team is at health wise heading into this game.
Like, I'm more concerned with the guys who are in that concussion protocol. Roshan, Ryan Bates. I know they. Didn't they sign Demetric? Who they signed? Felton. Yeah. They signed Demetric Felton, as insurance for Roshan. So I don't know. I saw Roshan go out during the game. I don't know his status. Ryan Bates obviously would be in question as well. Darnell Wright will play. Kevin Byard's going to play. I think DeAndre Swift's going to play. Keenan Allen. He did. As I look back, he did. I did see a point in that game where he did tweak his ankle, but I'm pretty sure he's going to play. DJ's going to play.
Was that earlier in the game when he played through it, or was that kind of towards the end of the game?
I want to say it was towards the end, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. But those guys are going to play. I think. I mean, they're out there. Obviously, they're not going through the actual physical portion of practice, but they're still out there. They're getting the mental reps. They have the script, the practice script, and stuff like that. I think they'll be practicing tomorrow. In my opinion. But you're definitely going to need all them guys. It's going to be tough. You're looking at a San Francisco team that doesn't have the record that they need, still got a really good head coach, still got a lot of talent, on that roster. Yes, there's a lot of injuries, especially on the defensive side of the ball, but guess what? I mean, Christian McCaffrey's not going to play. Jordan Mason's on IR as well. Yeah. The guy they drafted, Isaac Garendo from Louisville, I think they drafted him in the 5th round. He's going to get to go. So the running game, the thing about it is you look at the 49ers, right, in the run scheme that they have under Kyle Shanahan, doesn't matter who they put in, they're productive, right? It's because of the scheme. So, he's going to be, and with the deficiencies we've had on defense in terms of stopping the run, that's going to be a factor. So Kyle Juszczyk is still going to be there. Kerry Kittle is still there. Deebo Samuel is still there. Juwan Jennings is their leading receiver. We're talking about all these other guys, but Juwan Jennings is he's got the most targets on the team. He's leading the yard in reception yards. Kerry Kittle is leading the team in touchdowns. Defensively, you got
George Kittle. You went old school on us, Jay.
What I said, Kerry Kittle?
Kerry Kittle. You went Kerry Kittle on
Villanova, George Kittle. Hey, Kittle. One of these Kittles will be out there. I said Kerry Kittle.
George Kerry Kittle on us. I was like, wait a minute.
George Kittle, man. But and you still got Fred Warner still out there. I would like to see the injury report in terms of Nick Bosa. I think he's missed the last 2 games.
Yeah.
So it's still a tough team, and it's on the road. And like you said, it was something we haven't done in a long time under different leadership, but we still haven't won a Sunday game in a long time, away game in a long time. So it's going to be a tall task traveling out there on the West Coast facing, 49ers team. I think that's better than what their record's reflecting, despite the injuries.
Yeah. I mean, and I'll say this, you still got it. It does go to show you what good coaching does. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like we haven't looked at these games and gone, wow, the 49ers are just disasters.
No.
Yes, they're losing these games and you kind of feel like they're behind the 8 ball in most of them. But when you look at these scores at the end of the day, I mean, they lost to the Buccaneers or they beat the Buccaneers 23-20. They lost to the Seahawks 20-17. They got a little cooked by the Packers there, but for the most part, you look at these situations and go, oh, yeah, they're banged up. There's some struggles. They still were able to find a way to beat the Cowboys, who, yes, are a bad team right now and banged up. But in last couple of weeks, versus the Packers, versus the Bills, we're not the Packers or the Bills.
Yeah, they got destroyed by the Bills. And I mean, you know what? They got destroyed by the Bills.
No, they got cooked by the Bills for sure. But here's the difference, right? I would say we're a lot closer to the Dallas Cowboys or the Buccaneers right now than we are the Bills or the Packers, which sucks to say. But we'll see kind of if this week changes things. I can't say that Thomas Brown walks in and he becomes, as we joked before, Mike Tomlin 2.0, and all of a sudden this Bears team is just flying around. We're getting picks, we're getting touchdowns, we're putting up 40 points, and we're sitting here at the end of the game going, wow, I think we may have one here. I think that we gotta temper the expectations a little bit, although I will say this to the other side. There's a reason for expectations, J-Mac. This Bears team is top 10 in both red zone offense and defense. This Bears team has a turnover. Let me pull this back up here. I was talking about this earlier. This is one of the wildest stats. Kevin Fishbane tweeted this out earlier today. Here's the NFL turnover margins leaders with their record. The Bills have a plus 17 turnover margin, 10-2, a plus 15 turnover margin, 9-3. Chargers have a plus 11. That was the Steelers for plus 15. Chargers have a plus 11 turnover margin, 8-4. Texans plus 10, 8-5. Bears plus 10, 4-8. Lions plus 8, 11-1. Commanders plus 4, 8-5. We're the only team on this list who has the numbers that say you should be a playoff team.
Yeah.
You should be one of these top teams that is losing. And so for the people who are excited, I understand why you're excited, because it feels like if Thomas Brown is just competent, he should be able to get wins with the talent that you have on this team.
Yeah, and the one thing that I will say about this team, they haven't shown quit, right? You have, now I get it, the Commanders game, you know that loss, you could have won the tank, in which the following week in Arizona, where we thought they would come out more emotion.
Yeah,
you come out, you're like, wow, this team's gonna we're going down after that Arizona game, and then you come out and you play a really good game against the Packers, despite what happened at the end. You play a really good game against the Vikings, despite what happened at the end. You play a really good game against Detroit, despite what happened at the end. So, against these divisional opponents, you showed up and you've competed. You've competed despite what happened at the end of the game. You have guys competing, right? And like I said before, has it been all good with the coach? Obviously, we know it wasn't good enough. That's why he's not here. Has it been all good with the players? No, some guys got to play better and make plays when there's plays to be made. But at the same time, despite what's happened throughout this entire season, one thing I will do is say this team hasn't quit, and that's a good sign. And the main thing is your quarterback's gotten better. He's gotten better in terms of taking care of the ball. He hasn't turned the ball over. He's gotten better in third down conversions. He's gotten better playing within the system. He's made the splash plays and the highlight plays we've seen him make throughout his entire career, dating back to USC. But he's starting to come alive. He's starting to get more comfortable under the leadership of Thomas Brown. So it's good to see that. The one thing I do want to see more of is our run game. That's kind of it's been non-existent, and I just fear that despite Caleb's development the past few weeks, we got to have some type of an adequate run game to go along with it, which we haven't had in the past few weeks. So, luckily he's playing well, or this could be really bad. You know what I mean? So that's real encouraging to see that. But like you said, just with Thomas Brown, just being able to just manage, critical situations, manage timeouts the right way. I know the guys in that locker room. I know there's going to be a team that's going to be energized, a team that's going to be motivated to go out there and get their first win, not just for Thomas Brown, but for themselves. It's been six-game skid, man. It's tough, man, to go out there each and every week at practice and to go through meetings and, to have in the back of your mind, you're going through all of this stuff, and then to have in the back of your head, you know what? I hope coach is going to manage the game right. What's going to happen if it's a close game? Are we going to be coached right? Are we going to be in the right situation? Are we going to be prepared? Like, that's tough. But this team is, the last few weeks against division opponents, this team has showed up despite all the adversity. Even last week, when we were non-existent offensively in the first half, we came back and found a way to put ourselves in position to win the game. I think the main thing is trying to find a way to start fast. We've got to find a way to start fast. Like, it don't matter who we play. If the offense is non-existent, in the first quarter, the first half of games, we don't stand a chance. Like, we've got to find a way offensively to get started.
I feel like the job for Thomas Brown is going to be twice as hard as well, not just because of the injuries here, but J-Mac, realistically, if what we heard out of the locker room, and it seems like, Jalen Johnson is pretty much confirmed that, the emotions were high, it was a bad moment for me, but it's things that needed to be said, and I meant it. You know what I mean? It's one of those situations like, I'm sorry how I said it, but it needed to be said. But I feel like you're trying to pull back together, maybe not a locker room that's fractured in the sense of you have guys in that building that are mad at each other, but a locker room that's fractured in the sense of the openness that they were willing to talk badly about how things went, how the coach did, right? You're trying to pull guys back in and get them as a tight unit, everybody together, everybody pulling on the rope in the same direction. I think that's going to be twice as hard for Thomas Brown heading into this game. And it's why I think Cole Kmet said it today on his podcast that he believes that guys are going to rally around Thomas Brown. I think a win in this game, I don't want to say this is a must-win game, right? Like, I guess every game's a must-win game, although I doubt you making the playoffs. But a win in this game, I feel like builds the confidence in the team that the offense currently has in Thomas Brown. Because every player on that offense looks at Thomas Brown and goes, he's the answer. He's a guy. Yeah. We got something here. We have to go out. We're willing to play for him. We're going to do everything we can to get the job done with him. I don't know if that's the team's mentality because the defense isn't spending as much time with Thomas Brown.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting too. I think the one thing that I took away from Thomas Brown, his press conference this week, it's block out the noise. It's us, some things stay in house. And there's a lot of guys talking. There's a ton of guys talking, what I mean? And at the same time, it's like,
I've never seen it like this, Jay, man.
That's what I'm saying. Can
you remember a team like this ever?
No,
like this was like, coach made the wrong call. And then like, what?
But my thing is, you know what I mean? And I get it. Yes, that happened, the wrong call. But in my opinion, and I'm old school, you can't be talking unless you did everything right. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Unless am I doing everything right as a player? As a teammate, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That I'm required to do before I open up my mouth and point somebody else out and say they're not doing their job. We lost because of this. What am I doing as an individual, as a player, as a teammate, as a Chicago Bear? Am I doing my job? Am I perfect? Or am I close to being perfect? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Before I'm pointing the finger at somebody else. Like, that's my thing. Like if you've got to be a part of the solution and not the problem, right? So I can't just point the finger at the coach unless I'm perfect and there's nobody out there that's played a perfect game. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I look at it, looking at it from the outside in as a former player, as a player who's been in a locker room that was tight-lipped, that we didn't, things didn't get out. The guys that held each other accountable to the utmost standard, like, you weren't going to go in the media and be like, oh, the coach did this, Lovey did this, Lovey did that. Guess what? Because you got checked. by the leaders in our locker room.
Yeah.
You got to check. You know what I mean? And it wasn't just going to be a check in terms of, hey man, watch your mouth. Nah, you might get checked. You might get jumped. You might get down.
Checked.
You're gonna get approached. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna get checked.
Well,
you know what I mean? Because
that's what's tough though, J-Mac. Like this leadership council, the guys that were talking, Mercedes Lewis, DJ Moore, Kevin Byard, Keenan Allen, Jalen Johnson. These are your leaders. These are your guys that everyone's looking to say, hey, what's the problem here? And everyone, and listen, I don't disagree with them. And as a content creator, I think it's amazing. But for a locker room, is that the kind of, listen, I got content for days off of this, right? Like, but for a locker room, is that the kind of thing that you want to see your leaders doing? That's the part that does scare me. I love Jalen Johnson. I love DJ Moore. I love all of these guys, but I don't want the mindset to be, we can say whatever the heck we want and nobody's going to stop us. Because guess what? I don't see that mindset happening in Kansas City. I don't see that mindset happening in Detroit. I don't see that happening in Green Bay. I said this on the Breeze the other day. I don't know a lot of winning cultures that have podcasts where they're sitting there talking about the game. Travis Kelce has a podcast. They talk about Taylor Swift every week. Just about, I don't know what they talk about. But there's not a lot of football in the game that comes up. If it is, it's usually him going, "Yeah, I effed up."
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like it's, here's my thing, right? And I think all these guys are really good players, a lot of talent. I think the world of Jalen Johnson. I think Cole Kmet's a really good tight end. I can go on and on. On that roster, a lot of talent on that roster. A lot of good guys on the roster that are really good at football. But here's my thing, right? As a leader, like how am I going to sit up there and I'm a leader? I got to look at myself as a leader. I've got to put the blame on myself, right?
Yeah.
How is my leadership style working with this team? Am I leading this team the right way? Am I leading by example and vocally? You know what I'm saying? And by my play on the field. You know what I'm saying? Like my thing is just to have guys come out and say, the coach this, the coach that, and, this and that. As a leader, you've got to stand up there and what am I doing? I'm the example. What example am I setting for this team? Am I doing everything right in terms of preparation, in terms of, everything, every detail that I need to be to go out there and win a game on Sunday or whatever day we're playing on, Thursday, Monday, whatever.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like I can't sit there and point the finger, blame the coach if I'm not doing everything right. And I'm one of those leaders. And as a leader, if you have guys that are doing that aren't leaders of this team, you got to check them because that's not showing that you guys are a tight-knit team. To me, that's making excuses. You know what I'm saying? And I get it. The timeout and all that stuff, the situation.
It was bad.
It was all bad. That's on the coach. But how did we get in those situations? The coach ain't go out there and make one tackle. The coach ain't go out there and catch one pass.
Yeah.
The coach ain't jumping off sides.
Yeah.
The coach ain't running the route half speed or running the wrong route. The coach isn't, missing his guy in pass protection. The coach isn't falling down, you know what I'm saying, in coverage.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's the reality. And as a leader, like I get it. It is frustrating. I'm frustrated for all of these guys. But at the same time, in that leadership role, you always have to be the standard and the example. And when there's things not going right, you got to take that leadership role and you've got to put it on your sleeve and say, what am I doing to help this team get better? You can't go out there and just, the coach this, the coach that. It's crazy.
I guess my question would be, right, because I've never been in a situation where, you just, I guess I've been in a situation where you don't trust your boss. And there's a lot of the conversations beneath the boss that it's like, man, buddy don't know what he's doing. We're in trouble out here. We got to make sure we don't kill each other. But it is still that we're all pulling on the rope in the same direction. How do you overcome a lack of trust from your head coach, and with a new coach in place now, right? How does Thomas Brown build that trust?
Yeah, I mean, with Thomas Brown, it's just making sure that the details are clean, making sure that we're prepared. And the biggest thing is he's shown that, being the offensive coordinator the past few weeks, right? And he's shown the ability to help transform a quarterback who wasn't playing the way we envisioned him to play. And he's also shown the ability to overcome adversity, right? That first half last week, offense was non-existent. He made the adjustments, offense moving the ball up and down the field the second half. Now, as a head coach, we don't know. He's got to earn that, right? This would be his first game. So how is he as a head coach going to operate in terms of critical situation, critical moments, decision-making, throwing the challenge flag? Look, those are all things that he those are all
bro. The timeout was so bad we didn't even talk about the fact that Flus didn't throw a challenge flag on what looked to me like Buddy clearly stepped on the end line.
Yeah.
The timeout was so bad we didn't talk about the fact that this man threw a challenge flag on something that was clearly not a catch. Like,
I mean, but it's like situations like that, what I mean? Like, that's got to be earned by the way he manages and calls the game as a head coach. So we won't have them answers. We'll start to get those answers this week, but he's got a 5-game sample size to show the Bears, to show this team that he's capable of leading this organization, and he's capable of, if he wants to remain the head coach, if he wants that interim tag taken off, that he has the ability to do so within these last 5 games. It's an on-the-job audition. And, I think it's good because, you see a guy who's confident, he's to the point, he's holding his guys accountable. That's refreshing because he's a football player. That's the standard that he came up under coaches that demanded that standard. I'm sure the coaches he played under demanded that type of standard. And that's where his, I'm pretty sure his coaching style came from because, he was a player. That's the way it was. And those are the coaches that he came up under. So it's going to be interesting to see. I'm interested to see how he's going to handle calling plays, but also managing the game from the sideline as a head coach. It's more responsibility like that's placed on him. There's more pressure placed on him, right? It's you're not just in the box deciphering the defense and calling plays. Now you're running the entire team and still calling plays. So I'm excited. I think he's I love what he's done so far as an offensive coordinator, and I'm excited to see what he's going to do as a head coach this last 5 games.
Yeah, I really want to see how he's going to adapt to it not being his eyes. Seeing what the defense is doing and then making the call, right? You really got to trust a Chris Beatty, who I would assume is going to be up in the box now. You really got to trust those coaches there to see what you would normally see and say. I think there was a play last week where I want to say Keenan was coming across the middle on a dig route, and the first time Caleb misses him, just flat out doesn't throw the football to him. They run the same play dang near the second time, and Keenan Allen streaking wide open across the middle of the field. And now all of a sudden I saw that. Let's run it again. Look for Keenan. Like you can kind of direct him there. I wonder how different that's going to be and what kind of outcome we're going to see. Hopefully we see a dub. The Bears need one. At this point, I mean, listen, we're 4-8. Get a win by any means necessary.
I mean, dude, it's
if you got to fight a kneecap, you know what I'm saying? Whatever it takes.
Hey, every play is in every trick play. Everything you got in the playbook is available this week. We got to get a win, and I think it's going to be. I'm just excited. It's a breath of fresh air. You got somebody new leading the team, and I think the guys will feel that. And Thomas Brown has done nothing but bring energy and life to this offense. And let's hope he can bring the same thing to this team in its entirety.
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. Appreciate you guys tuning in, showing love. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. Let's hope Thomas Brown gets his first win today. Let's finish it out with this, J-Mac. I thought this was a very interesting topic that we got an opportunity to hear from Mike Florio, big man out there, Pro Football Talk. You already know what he's all about, man. When he was on with 670 to Score today, had a conversation about the Chicago Bears and the possibility of going out and trading for a head coach. Now, we've had every head coaching discussion under the sun.
Right.
But basically what he was saying was that it seems like if you're going to go down all of these paths, why not at least take a look at some of these guys that are already accomplished head coaches and see what kind of draft compensation it may take to get out of here? And he did mention, he mentioned a name, J-Mac, that it's got me excited, and I have it on good authority that this guy, maybe not the best guy, as a diehard 49ers fan, J-Mac, you can't trust Kyle Shanahan farther than you could throw him. I think he's lost the locker room. You got to get him out of there. But he said, I feel like Shanahan is on his Andy Reid path where he is never going to reach his full potential unless he goes to a new team. His dad is from Illinois, so there's kind of an appeal there. And for a conversation, what would you give up to get a Kyle Shanahan? How much would you give up to get him? Because I think you should at least have that conversation, because the 49ers almost traded Jim Harbaugh to the Browns 10 years ago. Harbaugh said no, or else they would have done it. My question is, should the Chicago Bears, with the holes that we have on this team, explore the option of possibly trading for an established head coach? Shanahan would be at the top of the list in my mind, but there's some teams out there that are struggling that maybe you could move on from. What I also thought was interesting that he goes on further to say is that he put this list of coaches together, and a coach currently in the NFL reached out to him and said, well, why didn't you put my name on the list? So that means that people would be intrigued in saying
what
yes.
Coach was that? Which coach?
He didn't say the name of that coach.
He made it up.
He made it up. You don't trust Florio?
No, I don't know. But this is the thing, right? Look, like, here's the thing. But like, the funny thing is, what I took away from that press conference with Kevin Warren and Ryan Poles, right? We all know it was very weird to me. But here's the thing that one thing I took away, right? You have Kevin Warren like basically talking the whole time, and he says, I'm going to be a part of the search. I'm basically leading the search, but it's going to be Ryan Poles' final decision. So if it doesn't work out, guess
Ryan Poles leading the search, but it's going to be a collaborative effort.
Right, but Ryan Poles is going to make the final decision. So if it doesn't work out, it's on Ryan Poles.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I think that I think they're gonna. We do things differently here in Chicago. Like, we've had a lot of coaches in the building. Dan Quinn was in the building. He was in the building, and they brought Dan
Quinn in on a doggone propeller jet, propeller plane. That's some dude.
When Cap broke that, when he said they had Dan Quinn, in coach and a middle seat and all this other stuff, I was like, wow, that's wow.
It was George in the front of the plane with a propeller starting and then running on. He's like, here we go.
But you know what though, they're gonna exhaust every option. They're gonna look at every coach. I would assume, they're gonna do their due diligence and try to find a way to bring the right guy in there. I hope. I just want to make sure on the search committee that they have the right people in the committee. Football people. Yeah. And, you brought in a guy, Ryan Poles, to be the GM. So I would hope that it was his final decision. Let that man do his job. Yeah. And let him find the right coach. But, I like Kyle Shanahan. I've been a fan of his offense, for a long time. Obviously not having the best season he this year.
Half the team is dead, but yeah,
and everybody's injured too. They didn't throw that in there like, you ain't got nobody. Bro, the roster's been decimated, but it ain't no excuse. At the end of the day, you got who you got. Yeah, you line up with with who you got. But there's a lot of good coaches available, and you've got to find the right fit in terms of one. Like we see, you got such a young team, you got to bring stability. You've got to bring, you got to command accountability. Like, you've got to command a team. A young team that's going to, keep things within the locker room. You can't have like what we've seen this year in terms of players, speaking, openly about the coach and stuff like that. You need somebody that's going to demand, a standard, that's going to have a demanding culture. That's going to hold guys accountable to the highest level. Or you're not practicing today. Okay. Like, you got to be afraid to do certain things. Like, you got to have that type of coach that's going to get the most out of your players. That personality fits Chicago, because it's tough here to be a player, coach, or whatever. You're in a big market, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Depends on who's out there, and if you feel like you want to go out there and trade picks for the coach that you want with conviction, and you feel like that's the guy, and you've done all your research, well, hey, do it, because this, like I said, this soap opera that we've seen every few years, I mean, it's disaster, it's chaos. It just shows that there's dysfunction. It's the same thing we've seen, the same cycle repeats itself. And we talked about it. We knew this was going to happen. Last year when Flus came back, we said, okay, if Flus fails this year, they're going to fire Flus, bring in a new coach. And where are we at right now, Pat?
Yeah, we here. I mean, that was the concern. Listen, and some of the stuff we heard about, Poles wanting to move on, and maybe the McCaskies wouldn't let him because there were 3 years on the deal instead of 2, like that. Yet again, it's kind of like, can you get out of it? Can you guys like sit over here while we handle the business over here? But at the end of the day, you got to a point where you had to make a decision, and I don't think you handled it perfectly. I think Kevin Warren even sat up there and he admitted as much. But I do think that you made the right decision at the end of the day. Yeah. And that's really what it comes down to, making the right decision. Everything's not going to be handled perfectly, just like on a football field. You can have 36 minutes of a bad game, and if you pull it all together in the fourth quarter, all of a sudden nobody's talking about, wow, these guys really sucked. It's what a comeback. Look at how this team galvanized themselves to get together. I think that making the right decision at the end of the day is more important than anything. And that's kind of how I look at this. Listen, I don't think Shanahan's realistic. I don't. But if there is somebody out there who is a coach of that ilk, who's on that level, who is interested in coming to the Chicago Bears, and he can coach, there's no questions, right? Like, that's the thing with a Shanahan. I guess a Joe Brady is somebody you could bring in, but those guys who you kind of just what they can do already. Right, I've seen it. Right. I've seen Kyle Shanahan take a team to the Super Bowl. Heck, I'm watching Kevin Stefanski every week figure out how to make Jameis Winston into a
you want somebody that's proven, that
give me somebody that's proven, exactly, right? Instead of
that that has a good track record.
Listen, I love Mike Vrabel. He was fired for a reason. If he gets the job done, he's not fired there, or whatever the reasoning is behind closed doors. Yeah, I love Ben Johnson as an option, but if we're being real about this, I've never seen Ben Johnson be a head coach. If it cost me a couple of first round picks to go get Kyle Shanahan, J-Mac, have at him. I got a culture setter. I've got a guy that I know makes decisions that gets teams to a Super Bowl. By the way, with Brock Purdy on his fourth quarterback that year, the first year, with Brock Purdy and with Jimmy Garoppolo, and in both situations, he's a more accurate quarterback away from winning both of those Super Bowls.
Yeah, I mean, it's just doing things like like you talk about Shanahan, you talk about Tomlin, the guys that are proven.
Yeah,
they have proven, the record shows it. The type of teams they have show it. It's, if you feel that conviction that you have a guy out there that you want to come lead this team that has a proven track record, and and you have the capital to do it, then hey, go do it. Go in this cycle. Make this team a competitor. Stop talking about it and be about it. Every year we talk about this is the year, this is that, and then we cut corners. We don't shore up positions that we need to shore up, on this roster. We're questioning the coach, questioning the GM, and then the cycle repeats itself. But then every year, hey, you know what? We got this, we got that. We're selling a fantasy.
Yeah.
If there's a coach out there that has a proven track record of being able to transform teams, being able to, get teams into the playoffs, but not just the playoffs, get them to a Super Bowl, and he's done it, and he has a proven track record of doing so, and you feel that conviction that he's the guy to lead this organization that we have, to end this losing streak that we have. But then, hey, go get him, get him, do it with conviction. And if that's who Ryan Poles wants, Ryan Poles, go make the decision. But it's got to be on one accord. It can't be, I don't know, Kevin Warren wants Joe Brady and Ryan Poles wants Kyle Shanahan and wants to trade for picks, and the McCaskies want Ben Johnson. Well, there it is. Like it's confusing. It's, you know, we've seen a lot of that already.
And I'll say this, J-Mac, you look at some of the teams that have done it. I mean, like more times than not, surprisingly enough, when we looked it up, it has worked. You think about Gruden going to Tampa. You think about Belichick being traded from the Jets over to the Patriots, right? You think about, heck, the big one that's currently in the NFL right now. Where's Bo Nix without Sean Payton?
Yeah.
Nobody was talking about Bo Nix as a viable quarterback. And then all of a sudden you turn around and you go, oh, yeah, he does have Sean Payton. No wonder he's lacing that thing in there with confidence. Of course, he had the talent, but can you put him in the scheme that's going to work? I just feel like, and again, I don't think Shanahan is realistic. For everybody out there, like, why would the 49ers trade Shanahan? I don't think Shanahan's getting traded.
Yeah.
But if you have a coach of that ilk who can go out there and make your team better and you can guarantee it, how do you not do it? Yeah. That's kind of my thing. We're talking about draft capital. You know when the draft capital matters? When you can develop it.
Yeah. And then, I mean, and another thing too is, you know, we're throwing out all these hypotheticals, right? All these things that can happen. You know, what if Thomas Brown comes out here and leads this team the right way and you feel conviction in
that's
him being your head coach?
Honestly,
I mean,
that's what I want to see happen.
Yeah.
Like, I think he has that level of he has a head coaching pedigree about him. If he can pull off, for me, I said this, 4-1 at a minimum. You got to get some wins to put you at the top of that conversation. But if he's developing Caleb, if he's got the offense looking good, if the team as a whole is bought in, how do you move off of him?
Yeah, how do you overlook him? And especially when he's been in the building, he's already starting to build a rapport with the players. You know what I mean? Like he'd have to be one of the options at the top of the list in that scenario. So we'll see. I mean, it's going to be a huge step this weekend towards getting some type of answers.
Yeah,
it's going to be interesting to see how he, you know, leads this team and how this team responds under new leadership. But we see the offense has responded. Now let's see how they're going to respond with a new head coach, a new defensive play caller, you know, as well. And Eric Washington, you know, it's going to be interesting, man. I think you know, it brings about at least some type of excitement towards a season that hasn't gone the way we wanted to go as Bears fans and analysts. But you know, we'll see against a formidable opponent. You know, I mean, despite the records.
Is this just more hope for us to get absolutely punched in the gut on Sunday? Is that what this is?
I'm not telling hope. I'm just setting the reality.
Here we go, baby. Oh, dang. Oh,
hey, Pat, we've had enough of people selling us hope. I'm telling us what the reality is. You got a new head coach, you got a new defensive play caller. You know what I'm saying? And you're going up against a team that's, you know, that has been one of the top teams in the NFC, and they still have a lot of talent on that roster despite their record. So you're going to their house, a team that just got embarrassed by Buffalo on the road. So they're going to come ready to play, and we better come ready to play as well. Otherwise, it's going to be a long game.
J-Mac, listen, I wish somebody would sell me wins. That's all I'm asking. Sell me some wins. Somebody, if anybody's got a dime bag of wins,
they've sold you optimism
here in the Chicago Bears.
They've sold us optimism for a long time.
Can they sell us some wins, dog? Oh, man. Appreciate you guys for tuning in to Show Love. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page. Leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. Let us know your thoughts on Thomas Brown in his first game. Will he get the dub? What are your thoughts on the possibility of trading for the Bears' next head coach? We'll talk about all that and more continuing through the week. You know, we got you covered here with everything Chicago Bears. For Jason McKie, it's your boy Pat the Designer. Back at it again. Courtney Cronin back on tomorrow. Y'all stay safe out there, Chicago. Bear down. One love.
Bear down.